ستتناول هذه الحلقة من روح الفريق المتغيرات التاريخية والاجتماعية في النظام الطبقي البريطاني عبر عدسة لعبة الرجبي الإنجليزية، بدءا من الانشقاق الذي شهدته اللعبة بين دور الرجبي واتحاد الرجبي في القرن التاسع عشر، وانتهاء بالتغيرات الحديثة التي شهدتها اللعبة والتي جعلتها مع الوقت أكثر شمولية وانفتاحا على الأقليات العرقية، فضلا عن احتضانها للمشاركة النسوية في العقود القليلة الماضية. وكيف تعكس هذه التغيرات في الثقافة والقيم التغيرات الاجتماعية في بريطانيا. سنتابع لاعبي الرجبي من جيلين مختلفين لننظر ما إذا كانت لعبة الرجبي اليوم من ناحية الجمهور واللاعبين وثقافة اللعبة ذاتها تعكس فعلا واقع المجتمع البريطاني، فضلا عن الواقع المتغير للعبة.
Hi, my name is Rashid Khan. I'm a former professional rugby league player. In this episode on العربي television, I want to go back in time. I'm on a journey and I want to check how rugby has changed from way back in time when I was kicking a ball as a lad, and I want to see how things have changed in this era.
So how did rugby begin? It starts in a public school, a private school in the English Midlands called Rugby School, where the boys played a very distinct game which involved use of the hands. Pretty soon that game started to spread around the country. I've come into the research room here at Heritage Quay to look at some of the very historic items that are stored here. The first one I'd like to show you is this. It's a cap, and it was part of a tradition. When players had played for their club, they received a cap after so many years to mark that they were a senior member of the team. And this tradition dates back all the way to rugby school, when the boys would actually play rugby wearing the caps. And today that tradition continues in all sports. So now when you hear that a player has won 100 caps playing for his national side in soccer or rugby or cricket, this is where the tradition begins. So the wearing of caps was a rugby tradition that exists still even today, despite the fact that the world has changed very much. The cap is still an important symbol of a player's expertise and achievement.
ما هي حيثيات هذه اللعبة؟ وما هي قيمها التي تميزها عن الرياضات الأخرى بالنسبة للاعبين؟
You learn so much about yourself, and you've got to be very humble about yourself. When you conduct yourself around others, because your mates, end of the day, you're playing alongside your mates and your teammates, and you don't want to feel let them down. So you got to be honest and be true to yourself about how you conduct yourself. You can't be taking shortcuts everywhere, because at the end of the day you're letting yourself down, you're letting your friends down. So you learn to have a certain discipline about what you do on a day-to-day basis, about what you eat and what you drink and what time you go to bed and everything like that. So you live a disciplined life.
The main thing I think is the friendships you build and the tough times you go through, whether it be in training, pre-season like we are now, or in a game where you're going through a bit of a tough time, and all that builds together to form a strong friendship and a bond between everyone.
It needs a degree of mental toughness to be able to play. I think you need a lot of athletic ability, but I've grown up seeing lads with immense amounts of talent and ability, but they've just not had the mental capacity to be able to run at a line, get your nose broken or smashed, or some of your teeth knocked out, or get your quad torn off your knee, or tear some cartilage and get up and play ball and do it again and again. I think rugby league's a game where skill is probably 50% of it. The other 50% of it is having the capacity, the mental capacity to get out of bed and say, do you know what, I'm going to put my body on the line for my teammates. And what I've found, particularly at Leeds Rhinos, is It's full of a lot of down-to-earth superheroes, you know, the lads with the virtues of a superhero: humility, sacrifice, hard work, and they use their gifts and their talents, their intrinsic parts of who they are, for the rest of the team.
الذين كان معظمهم عمالا صناعيين لتعويضهم عن الوقت الذي يتركون فيه عملهم من أجل اللعب. فما هو سر استمرار اللعبة على مدى السنين رغم هذا الانقسام؟
Rugby league was a game that was played and watched and administered overwhelmingly by people who came from the working classes in the north of England, the people involved in industrial manual jobs. Rugby union, on the other hand, was predominantly played and administered by people who were members of the middle classes, who had been privately educated, who had been to university. And that gap, that division persisted.
I grew up obviously in Leeds, which is a big rugby league city, and I moved in next door to some lads who played rugby league. I think it's a blue-collar, working-class sport. It's a game that was born out of the northern heritage, you know, out of the miners' pits, and out of the hard work grafters, you know, the people that worked in the mills.
That division between rugby league and rugby union is as strong as it ever has been. And I think the reason for that is that despite the tremendous changes that have taken place in Britain over the last 100 years, class still remains at the heart of British society.
الشغف باتحاد الرجبي متجذر بعمق في بريطانيا، خاصة في ليستر، القلب الحاضن للعبة والمدينة المضيفة لتصفيات كأس العالم للرجبي 2015. اصطحبنا راشد خان لاعب الرجبي البريطاني السابق للعبة اتحاد الرجبي في ليستر للتحدث مع أكثر المشجعين حبا للعبة.
Leicester is also an incredibly multicultural city where no ethnic group has got majority over anyone. Now I've come to see if there's an interest in rugby within the Asian community, and if so, why are there not more fans and players?
I think one of the big questions that faces rugby, both rugby league and rugby union over the next decades, is how to attract ethnic minorities to the game. So for example, you go to Leicester, which has a 49% Asian population, the number of Asian spectators at Leicester Tigers or Asian players is very, very small. And I think that reflects the fact that rugby by and large is still seen today, still perceived as very much being a white sport. I think that's something that has to change and something that is changing, but it needs to change at a much faster rate than what it is doing.
ترى ما هي انطباعات المشجعين حول اللعبة في بريطانيا اليوم؟
Here I am in Leicester, one of the heartlands of rugby union in the UK. Leicester Tigers were the hosts of some of the games for the World Cup Rugby. And here I've come to speak to some of the fans, to see the enthusiasm, to see the passion that have brought them out of their homes to come and watch this game of rugby. Today, behind me is Wilford Road Stadium, Leicester Tigers home ground, and I just want to get a quick view and see what's going on. Leicester's such a diverse city. Do you think there's a lot of ethnic minorities, communities in... what I'm saying is, do you think they watch the game of rugby? Do you watch the game?
Probably not as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Maybe the World Cup's done something to bring people in and stuff now, but we're doing well, having a good season and that, so...
I think perhaps one of the other problems, it's actually a very British tradition. So going to a match, huge numbers of people, the police are there, people are drinking, there's lots of boisterous behaviour, not necessarily violent, it's good-natured, but that's a very British thing, and for people who haven't been raised in that culture, it can seem very intimidating.
Are you a family? Are you a family? Or?
Yeah, my brother, he's living in Limerick for his sins, but I'm still back in the
Almost 50 years.
Oh wow. And how long have you been following Munster?
A lifetime when we were wearing blue jerseys. That's a long time ago.
When it was an amateur game.
It's the best sport in the world.
Yes, most honest probably sport compared to everything else that happens with football and everything else. So yeah, these guys here playing today are guys we went to school with, literally simple as that. So
brilliant.
So they're guys you want to support, you want to be with, and want to,
they're buddies.
Yeah, you want to help them. So.
They're my cousins.
Oh, right. You have to wear that.
I'm wearing Munster, he's wearing Tigers, but we're the same family, eh?
Brilliant.
Caesar tickets.
Wow. Family?
No. Not really, we choose to be family.
Brilliant.
Because we're all guide leaders and scout leaders. So we sort of choose to be family then, don't we?
لكن ثقافة مشجعي اللعبة تتعدى الملعب والاستاد، فالشغف باللعبة يمتد إلى الاهتمام بتاريخها ودورها كإرث بريطاني مهم. ترى لمن يعود هذا الإرث؟
You can see how enthusiastic and passionate the fans are here in Leicester. And here I've come to the Rugby Heritage Museum to meet a Philip French to get an insight on the history of rugby in Leicester.
Leicester, for the size of the city, it does have a very prominent rugby team and the second biggest rugby union ground in the country, next to Twickenham. This is the case showing the earliest material that we have relating to rugby in Leicestershire. Rugby is important not just as a spectator sport, but probably more so also for the joy of playing it and the camaraderie of playing it. Leicester, say, used to have quite a lot of rugby teams at the club level. Still does have a few. It's one of the first schools rugby unions in the country, and they used to provide a lot of international players. Also, we have Emily Scarrett, who's from Leicestershire, captain of the England women's rugby team, and they won the World Cup in 2014, so she's a major player there.
التطورات التي طرأت على اللعبة جعلتها مع الوقت أكثر شمولية وانفتاحا على الأقليات العرقية، فضلا عن احتضان اللعبة للمشاركة النسوية في العقود القليلة الماضية، حيث شهدت لعبة الرجبي للسيدات نموا ملحوظا خلال ال20 عاما الأخيرة. نادي هاكني لرجبي سيدات هو مثال حي للتعددية الثقافية والعرقية للعبة. فكيف ترى اللاعبات هذه الرياضة؟ وماذا تعني لهن المشاركة في لعبة يسيطر عليها الرجل؟
Well, rugby has always been a sport that embodies and welcomes anyone and everyone. I mean, I'm Australian. I'm not English. I didn't grow up in a middle-class family in England. We have people that are we have Asian. We have South American descent, Arabic descent, yeah, lots of different backgrounds.
I love rugby, I love the sprinting, I love the aggression, I love the fact that different people of different heights, different sizes can play rugby. In terms of me being a black female playing rugby, yes, there are a lot of stereotypes because it does tend to be a white middle class sport. However, it's always good and it's always beneficial to break those stereotypes.
I think sport always binds people together because it doesn't matter where anyone's from, what they do, what religion they follow, anything like that. As soon as someone wears a shirt with it's the same jersey as yours, you're a team and you care so much about that person, you want to know everything about them.
For decades, for at least the first 70 or 80 years, rugby of both codes defined itself as a man's game. It was exclusively for men. So the women's game does suffer from an institutionalised discrimination, and although it has challenged the very fact that only men can play the game, so that's a huge step forward, in many other ways, then it remains, if you like, a game that is seen as not the real thing, as maybe not inferior, but not the genuine article.
بالرغم مما تعانيه النساء في اللعبة من التمييز المؤسسي ضدهن، فقد تبنى لاعبون حقوق المرأة داخل وخارج الملعب، من أمثال لاعب الرجبي الدولي السابق إكرام بط، الذي دخل التاريخ لكونه أول بريطاني من أصول آسيوية يمثل إنجلترا في كلا شقي اللعبة، وهو اليوم السفير الرياضي لحملة الشريط الأبيض.
White Ribbon is a global initiative, largest of its kind, made up of men speaking out against violence towards women and girls. And today, we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary in Parliament. The reason why it's iconic because White Ribbon, just like Parliament, are very similar. We believe in democracy, free speech, equality, and we're hoping today we have an opportunity to have that platform to speak out against these horrific crimes.
The White Ribbon campaign, I think, is one of those amazingly universal campaigns because unfortunately there is violence against women all around the world. It's all unacceptable, it has different forms, but it's only really when men speak up, and men from all different cultures, different backgrounds, different countries, to say that there is no excuse to not condone violence against women of any sort, to condemn it, and not to stay silent when they hear about violence against women. So that has to become something universal.
He's a wonderful guy. I mean, I know his background is predominantly rugby, but it's quite simple how you use sport to address so many social issues. Young people listen. When they see role models like Ikram and many other people talking positively about what's right, what's wrong, you have to behave in a certain way, you have to understand about human values, respect for yourself first, respect for women, respect for authority, respect for the law. It starts to resonate with people's minds, and I think this is a very powerful medium and a powerful way to address these social issues.
Well, here we are at Parliament at the end of our birthday celebrations, celebrating 10 years of the White Ribbon event. Really pleased to say that it was a huge success. What was very focal of today's event was the politicians who were very sincere in what they had to say and genuine. And the key points that came across all the politicians, male and female, was that men must play their parts, take responsibility of ending violence towards women and girls.
Ikram is an absolute star. Ikram, actually, every time I see him, he gives me a badge because he's big on domestic violence against women. He's a great example of a rugby league character who's transcended culture. He's played professionally for Leeds, he's played for Featherstone, he's played at the highest level in rugby league, and then he's gone on to do some great work as well, fighting for justice for women who've obviously been in victims of domestic violence. And Ikram's a great person, and hopefully, God willing, in time, people like Ikram will inspire other young Asian lads to come on, play this great game and soak up some of the fantastic opportunities that it offers.
I think Ikram has done two really significant things for the profile of rugby amongst ethnic minorities in this country. The first one is the big one, the obvious one, of becoming the first Muslim to play rugby of either code for England, which in 1996 was a huge thing. Nobody had ever done that before. And the game of rugby, certainly rugby league, had been around for 100 years by then. So that was a huge achievement. That was his first thing. And then starting up Bara in 2004 officially, although he actually got the thing going with a team called South Asia Bulls in 2002, was the second big thing. Because what that did is it said it's not just about me, it's not just about Ikram Butt, it's about everybody, and sending out a message to the community that if you want to play rugby, you can play rugby.
فضلا عن استخدام اللعبة كأداة لدعم القضايا الاجتماعية، فللاعبين مثل إكرام مشاركات ملحوظة في المشهد السياسي البريطاني. سنرافقه إلى لعبة رجبي مع فريق Political Animals، وهو أحد أندية دوري كرة الرجبي الذي يضم سياسيين من كل المستويات الحزبية، للتعرف على دور اللعبة في السياسة البريطانية وأثر ذلك على الانقسام الحالي بين شقيها.
We're here today at East London Rugby Union Club to play a rugby league game. Now, a few years ago, that would not be possible or unheard of, but we are playing for the Political Animals against a London select team. Political Animals was formed and founded by Member of Parliament Greg Mulholland, and the idea was politicians from the Commons and the Lords to come together, reach out to people through the medium of rugby league.
Yeah, well, I started the Political Animals, which is a rugby league team for British politicians from all parties, from all areas of the country at any level of politics. I used to play rugby league when I was younger and enjoyed it. I just fancied playing again, but we thought it would be a great way to get people together from different parties and different areas.
Now, the Political Animals play a Masters concept, and the concept of Masters is modified rules. 15 minutes over 4 quarters, you've got to be over 35, and it caters for all shapes and sizes and disabilities. So, for example, if you want to take part in full contact, you wear black shorts. If you're not too keen on a full contact and you want to grapple, then you wear red shorts. And if you want to take part but not so keen on the physical contact, then you wear yellow shorts. Now, generally yellow shorts are people who are over 60. But like me, for example, if I'm carrying a knock or an injury, I'll put yellow shorts on because I want to play rugby, because it's my passion, but I don't want to get involved in physical contact because I don't want it hurts anymore.
And increasingly since he retired in the late 1990s, he's had a lot of experience dealing with politicians and development people, for example, within the game. He can speak to anybody, he can talk to the people in high power, or he can talk to the bloke on the street. He moves between both lots of people very well, very comfortably, and he's just got loads of charisma.
Today's game was a real muddy affair. As you can see, got mud all over the place, but that's something which I really enjoy. Running with the ball, tackling, and being physical in the mud is good fun. Everybody enjoyed themselves. The Masters concept is about enjoyment, and it just demonstrates how much I miss this game. I'm passionate, I love the game, and people out there who are a lot older than me, and I just wish that I would be playing when I'm as old as them.
لا تهب اللعبة الحياة للاعبيها مثل إكرام فحسب، بل تلهم اليوم الوسائل المليئة بالحياة كالفن. وينعكس هذا في مشاريع الفنان رافي ديبرس الذي ألهم تنوع اللعبة الثقافي والعرقي أعماله، والتي تتناول موضوع الهوية من خلال الجماليات ذات الطابع الحركي.
Rugby interests me as a vehicle to explore it as an artwork. Rugby for me and for many other people isn't just about the sport. It was very much about, it raises issues about boundaries, about space, about history, about social interaction, about equality. It's also very much about the idea of a contemporary sport is very much about the processing of athletes to a degree, where we're seeing now incredible biometric data being collected. So there's many different facets that I was interested in. What the game of rugby says about identity in Britain today is that it's becoming more attractive to not just different cultures, but lots of females as well as males. And also I noticed a huge amount of very young people taking their families to the game, people taking very young children, sometimes almost babies, to games. And it's very much about a community element. It's very different to football. So rugby has an ability to attract all different sorts of people to it. And I think for that reason, and the fact that it's becoming more in the media now and more popular as a kind of sport worldwide, I think that that will increase its interest to people.
شعبية اللعبة اليوم بعد تاريخ طويل من جذورها الطبقية البيضاء وشمولها اليوم للنساء واللاعبين من الأقليات العرقية مثل إكرام بط وراشد خان، هي قصة اللعبة الحديثة وبريطانيا الحديثة. هذه القصة تعكس وجه اللعبة الحديث وقدرة المجتمع البريطاني في القرن ال21 على اتخاذ المرونة مسربا رغم احتفاظه ببنيته الطبقية، فضلا عن أنها تعكس قدرة أي فرد في بريطانيا ما إن امتلك الإرادة على تجاوز الحدود التي تحصل الحيز النخبوي من المجتمع.